Welcome back. The Gupta-linked businessman Iqbal Sharma will spend the weekend behind bars. Sharma and 3 former Free State agriculture officials appeared before the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court this morning. They were charged with corruption in a project linked to the Estina dairy farm project. One of his co-accused will apply for bail with him, while the other 2 will apply at 2 p.m. today. eNCA Senior Reporter Aviwe Mtila is joining us now from Bloemfontein. Aviwe, tell us more about this case. What happened in court today?
Well, as you rightly mentioned, Iqbal Sharma, accused number 4 in this matter, will be appearing on Monday with accused number 1, who is Peter Tabete, the former HOD of the Department of Agriculture in the Free State. This dates back to 2011, Bratulas, where, in fact, it was a feasible study to assess whether a dairy farm project that would alleviate the emerging black farmers would be feasible at that time. So this contract, the NPA says that it was money siphoned off, nearly 25 million rands that was siphoned off over a period of 7 months. In fact, a company called Nulani Investments was contracted back in 2011 to conduct the feasible study. In turn, they outsourced Deloitte, who did the feasible study themselves for a mere 1.5 billion rand. But in total, the charge sheets reflect 17 people that will be charged, people and companies that are charged on this, as well as 4 Gupta members, the family. But I spoke to the NPA's investigative directorate spokesperson, Cindy Seboka, earlier on, and this is what she had to say.
So the charges here are breach of the Public Finance Management Act for the 3 officials that you've seen. It's a former head of Department of Agriculture, former head of Rural Development, as well as a former Chief Financial Officer of the Agriculture Department at the time. This is in 2011. And then the one other accused that has appeared is a former DTI big honcho there, as well as a businessman that was the head of Nulani Investment. So the nub of this particular case, just after speaking about the charges, other charges is money laundering and fraud. So the nub of the case in this particular instance is that just over 24 million, just almost 25 million was siphoned out of the Department of Agriculture within a 7-month period. The contract was given to the company Nulani Investment to do a feasibility study as to whether or not a dairy farm project, Domuhuma Bubung at the time, the flagship project that was supposed to alleviate poverty within Free State, would be successful or not. So this company, Nulani Investment, was then roped in. It was supposed to do the feasibility study. It was paid the 24 million. It then outsourced the same feasibility study to a South African company, Deloitte, for 1.5 million. So you can also do the maths about how much they benefited and pocketed. In terms of the appointment of the company also, we've also seen through investigations that it was quite irregular. There was deviation of the Public Finance Management Act, and further, the contract should not have even been entered into.
So, Aviwe, we're talking high-flying individuals here. I mean, Peter Tabete, former HOD, Iqbal Sharma, certainly someone who, was in high-ranking positions, including at Transnet.
Yes, certainly, Bratula. Iqbal Sharma, remember, who was the former Deputy Director and CEO of the Trade and Investment South Africa, which forms part of the Department of Trade and Industry. Remember also Peter Tabete, the former HOD of Agriculture in the Free State, appeared some 2 years ago at the Zondo Commission around the Estina dairy farm project. Remember there he said that he could not remember who linked him to the Gupta brothers, and in fact the meeting that happened at Saxonwold. But what will happen now is that accused number 2 and 3 have requested that their bail application continues at 2 p.m. this afternoon, while accused number 1, which is Peter Tabete, and Iqbal Sharma, accused number 4, will have asked to appear on Monday, being remanded in custody. And another issue is the 4 Gupta members, in fact, extradition processes and talks underway with India as well as the UAE, just to try to get them back into the country, forming part of the 17 individuals and companies that are linked to this case, which was a precursor to the looting that happened happened at the Estina dairy farm. Some 288 million rands in total that has been allegedly looted there. Let's listen in on the NPA Cindy Siwe Seboka once more.
What happened in court today is that four accused, for starters, appeared. A total of 17 accused are part of the charge sheet that was presented in court today. Of the 17, some are companies, five actually in the country and others are not in the country. We can officially confirm that extradition talks and engagements have begun for Atul Gupta, his wife, and various other parties that we're interested in. The extradition talks have started for the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, as well as India.
All right, that's a big one. That's going to be very interesting, that whole leg around the extradition negotiations and I suppose relevant processes in the United Arab Emirates as well as in India. Lastly, Aviwe, the fact that we're talking here about charges that stem from the feasibility study around Estina and the dairy farm, that's a small aspect, I suppose, that tells you that it's just one layer of this onion that we're peeling at. It's not even dealing with the main other issues that are likely to come up. There's still more to come from that particular leg of investigations.
Certainly, Bratulas, this was just the start. You'd remember this happened in 2011, where for 7 months the NPA-ID alleges that the siphoning of the nearly 25 million rand happened. It's a precursor, in fact, to the allegations of the looting then that went on, the 288 million rand, we understand, that was looted around the Estina dairy farm, a project, in fact, that was supposed to enable emerging farmers. We understand there was supposed to produce some 100 kiloliters of milk per day, but we all understand that that didn't amount to anything. But we'll be back at 2 p.m. where accused number 2 and accused number 3 will be back at the Bloemfontein Magistrate Court for their bail application, while accused number 1 and accused number 4 will then conduct their bail application on the coming Monday.
All right, thank you for that. eNCA senior journalist, that's Aviwe Mtila.